Hey, what's up, everyone? Back for this Monday slate. We got a pretty good slate today to talk about. Let's get right into it. You can drop a like and subscribe down below, and you can visit the website, links in description. If you want to join for NFL, that's coming up very soon in a couple weeks. Super excited about that. Yesterday, Moustakis played in for the second day in a row, and he did not disappoint. After being on a little cold streak, he's hit 3 home runs the last couple games, and thinking about playing him again today against against a pitcher that struggles against lefties. But we'll talk about him a little later. First, we're going to start off at pitcher. Pitching is very easy today. Personally, I think it's pretty easy to figure out who you want to target. I mean, Bauer seems like a great play at 11-7. Don't like Mlb with Bauer being just 500 more than him, and Mlb doesn't have nearly as much strikeout upside as Bauer does. No interest in Marco Gonzalez. That price tag is too high. I would much rather go down to Gibson at 10-1. So above 10,000, I like Bauer. I like Gibson. Don't like Allard. I like Gallen for GPPs. Don't like Peters. Don't like Hudson. Don't like Nova. Don't like Lauer. Love McKay. Ross is interesting for tournaments. Pirates don't strike out that much, but I think he's still viable given the lack of options. And then after Ross, don't have interest in anybody else. Started off here with Trevor Bauer. He's at 11-7. Gets a tremendous matchup against a right-handed heavy Padres lineup, missing Tatis probably for the rest of the season. With him out, lineup becomes so much weaker. Bauer, coming off of a rough start, I think he's going to bounce back. Even though he hasn't been consistent all season, with an ERA above 4, he's been great with the strikeouts, and he's flashed a lot of upside. Lots of 30-point games for him. He has had a couple of 40-point games. Since he's been a Red, he's not going nearly as deep as he was as a Indian. He was going like 117. He went 127 pitches once. As a Red, they've kind of kept him below 108 pitches, but he's still going over 100. And the matchup is great here against the Padres. They strike out so much against right-handed pitching. And the second pitcher is definitely going to be Brandon McKay here. Just 7,500 for McKay. Last start, he had no command. He had 6 walks, which were double the amount of walks he had in his previous, 7 or 8 starts. So he definitely didn't have any command in his last start. That'll probably not happen again for the rest of his career or for the rest of this season, giving up 6 walks. He just has pretty good command. He's been great with the strikeouts. This Mariners team is extremely lefty-heavy. That's a really good sign for him. And he also strikes a lot of people out, and the Mariners strike out a ton, and their lineup is very ugly. I love McKay here, pitching at home. His price tag went down, even though it should have went up in a matchup like this. So Bauer-McKay are the pitching combo I like. For hitting stacks today, a couple of teams stick out. I think the Diamondbacks are a pretty interesting stack. The Astros are interesting. If they're going to be super popular, you don't have to stack them, but I think a couple of them make a lot of sense. Facing Jackson, who finally gets a tough test here after he faced the Royals and the Mariners the last 2 starts and was great against both of them. But the Astros lineup is just a different animal, so we'll see how he can navigate them. Nova here has been pitching very well over his last month. The Twins are in Minnesota. They are not as good of an offense at home. If they're going to be very popular, I think you can look at some other teams, but I still like the Twins. They're definitely going to be on your list of teams to stack. I like the Angels a little bit here against Allard. I don't love stacking the Rangers against lefties, but a couple guys I like. Danny Santana is just so good and has so much upside. He definitely has that tournament-winning upside that you look for. And I like Andrews at only 4,300. I like a game stack here. Both teams are battling for the division, both the Brewers and Cardinals, in a tight race, not only for the division but for the wild card. So both of these teams have a lot to play for, unlike some of the other teams. Getting to the point where the Tigers have nothing to play for. Some of these teams have nothing to play for the White Sox. So, focusing on players that are definitely going to still be motivated is a way to kind of build your stacks, I think. Especially when both pitchers in this game are not great. Both offenses can definitely put up some runs, especially the Brewers. The Cardinals have been scoring a little more as of late. So I like a game stack here. And then I like the Nationals a little bit. they're just so cheap. Well, a couple of them are cheap, and they're facing a bad pitcher in Trevor Williams, who's decent, but he's been bad over the past month and for the whole season. Well, for like the last couple months, he hasn't been able to get anything going. And that's kind of it for where I'm looking to stack today. Started off here at first base, Paul Goldschmidt, only $4,100. Like that fact a lot. Like that price tag a lot for him. He's been swinging the bat much better for a lot more power. He had an incredible stretch where he hit so many home runs. And he still has a ton of power this year. He's been great against righties and lefties. Still has more power against lefties, but he's been crushing it against righties. With a 258 average, but he has 20 of his 27 home runs against righties. And he has a 195 ISO. Not great, but that's definitely been on the rise in the second half, where he has 11 home runs through 32 games. And after he only had 16 through the first 88 games. So definitely has a lot more power as of late. He had 11 home runs in July. He's hit 2 so far in August. And I think more is going to come in a game like this. So Goldschmidt facing Zach Davies. Davies hasn't been great. He's coming off of an injury as well. He started off the season very well. But lately he's been getting crushed with the home runs. He's given up 2 home runs in each of his last 3 starts before he went on the IL. And if anybody's going to hit one out from the Cardinals, I think Goldschmidt's a great bet. He also doesn't strike that many people out either. 78 strikeouts in over 122 innings. Not good at all for him. I think it's going to be a short night for him, especially coming off of an injury. And the way the Cardinals can definitely put some power on the board with Goldschmidt, with DeYoung. All right, so I love Goldschmidt at that price tag. At second base, going with a very cheap player here. And usually I like to play him against lefties, but the price tag is super appealing. $3,300 for Dozier. Brian Dozier, who has 19 home runs. That's one of the higher numbers you'll see for a second baseman. Right here in this range, you get nobody else that's viable to play. You get players that haven't played all season. And then you get Brian Dozier, who has been, who had a 2 home run game the other day. The Nationals offense is absolutely on fire right now. They scored over 20 runs. They scored 20 runs the last 2 games. And they can definitely keep that going. They are very much motivated. They are still, they're in the wild card race. In the second, leading the way in the wild card. I think they're second place in the wild card, or might even be first. But they got a lot to play for the rest of the season. Dozier hits like 7th. Not a great spot to hit in the batting order, but he has a lot of power. And even though his numbers against righties are not great this season, he has definitely has some pop against them, and he does hit a lot of fly balls against righties. So it's not like he never has a chance to hit a home run. He has 11 home runs against righties and in 264 at bats. He does have a high fly ball rate, higher than lefties, 46.6%, and a 39% hard hit rate. So even though he's much better against lefties, he's not terrible against righties, and Williams has really struggled as of late. Just super cheap with a lot of upside for Dozier. Now I'm going to continue rocking with Moustakas just because he's so cheap at $4,000. He has excellent numbers against Hudson. 2 bombs off of Hudson in, I think, 4 at-bats. It's a very small sample size. Hudson is complete garbage against lefties, even though he's been a little better as of late. He still gives it up to lefties, and that's exactly what this Brewers team is. Full of lefties, full of lefty power hitters. Giving up a .531 slugging percentage and a .307 average. To lefties, they have a 5.22 xFIP, only a 17% strikeout rate, and he has given up a 46% hard hit rate to lefties. So I love Moustakas here. Just $4,000. Continues to be heavily underpriced. And last but not least, I like the guy leading off for them, Trent Grisham. $3,500 is too cheap. The Brewers can definitely put up some runs, even though they are on the road here. Grisham has some power. He was great in AAA. He was incredible in AAA. He's been decent as a big leaguer. Obviously, he's not been as great as he was in AAA, but he definitely has a lot of talent and upside. And if he continues to bat leadoff, should get plenty of opportunities to get on base and score runs. Definitely has power too. So far, he's done most of his damage against righties with a 303 average through 33 at-bats. Has a 242 ISO. It's a really small sample size, but he's a way too cheap here at just 3,500 given the matchup. So that's what I like. Like I said, I like the Brewers, I like the Cardinals, I like the Nationals. Offense is going to try to get them in here. If you want to be different, then we'll probably go with those teams. And then if you want to go kind of chalky, you go with the Astros. I still like the Astros. We'll do my best to get a couple of them in here. So yeah, that's kind of what I like for this slate. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You can drop a like if you enjoyed, and good luck today.